We're going to talk about this one super briefly because this channel isn't about bashing products, but I wanted to share with those of you who look to purchase smaller knives for smaller hands similar to me, so you don't make the same mistakes. This all started because I got caught up watching a video from Taylor Martin on Best Damn EDC. Usually his videos feature knives for big hands, but every once in a while he'll throw some mini blades in that work better for my pint-sized paws. As an alternative, more budget-friendly knife, he featured Tops Knives Sparrow Hawke. I thought it was a pretty unique knife and had some similarities to the Essie Azula, but with built-in micarta scales, so I was digging it. I ordered it and got my hands on it and realized that I had made a big mistake, but let's start with the good things first. This was my first knife from Tops. I was excited to own a Tops knife because of my experience with Essie being so dang good. Tops designs and manufactures here in the US, and they boast an impressive background of working with folks who have experience in martial arts, military, law enforcement, and outdoor specialties. Some specs on this knife: the overall length is 5 inches, blade length is 2.63 inches, cutting edge is 2.25, blade thickness is 0.30. First and foremost, I will say the quality is all there. This is a small knife. I pride myself in finding high quality knives that fit a smaller hand, and I thought this might be the perfect addition to my collection of EDC fixed blades. Tops advertises this as a neck knife, which usually for me fits my hand needs as an EDC blade, and being made from 1095 RC with a powder coat finish, I was sold. Again, all the quality is there. The linen micarta scales are just like my Essie, and the edge right out of the box was razor sharp. Where I can't get down with this knife is the ergonomics. Firstly, the jibbing feels like it's in the wrong location. Because of the size, my instinct is to choke up on the blade, which actually feels good for my 4th and 5th digits, but that leaves the jibbing behind. If I place my hand on the handle where I can make use of the jibbing, I feel like I'm dangling off the end of the handle. Also, in my opinion, the jibbing could have used a broader fillet on the edges and a closer inset between notches. It leaves an imprint on my thumb that could have been eased with the driving force of my thumb weight behind the distributing force between more notches. Just a thought. Secondly, I know there is a lot of mixed feelings about the necessity of choils. I personally like a choil though. On a knife like this, I think a more pronounced choil would have helped the user feel like they have more purchase on the knife, even without the lack of fingers on the handle. Because I can get 3.5 finger gripped on this handle choked up and only 3 when on the scales themselves, I would have liked the choil there to keep my fingers from advancing further down the blade. There isn't much handle to grip, so some safety in that would have been comforting. Lastly, it all comes down to the handle shape. I sat and pondered this for a good long few months before determining that I think my biggest issue with this knife is the curve of the handle. No matter what way I hold this knife, I cannot get a good grip. When I apply force down on the blade, as if I were to carve or chop something, the handle wants to wiggle in my hand back and forth. I don't really know how else to say it, but it feels like the knife is going to curve around in my hand and go a different direction. Everything about it makes me feel uncomfortable because it doesn't lock in. This is just an afterthought, but the sheath is also so dang hard to get the knife out of. There's no anchor point for your thumb to rest against the sheath when drawing the blade to pull it out. And the blade handle isn't long enough to still grasp it in a way where you can just forcefully eject it, like in the way they intended with it being a neck knife. Some paracord would have been a nice touch to help folks get it out of the sheath, but there wasn't any included. But instead they included a neck cord with a very inexpensive looking plastic clasp, which I would be scared to carry my new $145 knife on, and it's simply just breaking at the clasp and dropping somewhere. Oh, but the win of the purchase was the free train whistle. That being said, my goal is not to throw shade or talk bad about Tops. Like I said at the start, the quality is all there. The individual materials of the knife are stunning, and I thought for a while that perhaps it was just me, that this was a small knife that didn't actually fit small hands and that larger hands might do better with it. To that note, I could see a very meaty set of fingers perhaps doing okay with the knife. Maybe if I had larger fingers with more crush or, kind of cush to them, the knife wouldn't feel all squirrely. But I did have to test this with a larger handed dude that I know, and he shared that it just felt small, sort of like a toothpick in his hand. So I'm not entirely sure who this knife is made for, and if it would work for anyone really. To me, the design itself felt like a bit of a miss on a few different fronts, and I'm a little bummed with myself that I didn't see these things and anticipate them before making the purchase. It's all on me. But I'm not done with tops, and will continue to keep my eye on them to see if this is just a misfire. All that goes to say you might want to bypass this one if you were considering it as an option for a smaller EDC fixed blade for smaller hands. Let me know down in the comments if you've had any good experience with tops or which blades you've liked. I'd be curious to hear and would like to give them another shot. As always though, I'm Milotash. Thanks for watching.